Hello everybody, my name is Michał and today I would like to show you my beginner's Skellige deck. One great thing about Gwent, compared to its online card game rivals, is that you start out with cards that allow you to build a deck with a lot of synergy. You start the game with 4 pre-made starter decks, one of which is the Skellige deck. This starter deck contains the minimum of 25 cards. Overall, this deck is already quite good, but you can still improve it. Please note that all of these improvements I will make to the starter deck should be able to be done at level 1. So far I only opened 3 kegs that I got from doing the tutorials and playing a few games. In my opinion, the cards that do not fit in these decks are the Raging Berserkers. They only have 3 strength and will turn into a Raging Bear if weakened but not killed. 3 strength is very little and 6 isn't great either, so I get rid of them. The Berserker Marauder with 4 strength is also on the low end. He will turn into a bear when moved into the graveyard, and the bear will gain 2 strength for each weakened unit on the battlefield. This can be a very good ability, but it's situational, and in my opinion there are other builds that this card works better with. I have mixed feelings about the prize-winning cow. The cow itself has only 1 strength, but when it's removed from the battlefield it spawns a 9 strength chord. Most of the times when you play this card it will only be of help in the next round, when it respawns as the strong chord. The worst that can happen to you is when you draw this card in the last round, but if my calculations are correct, you only have a 4% chance of that happening. Good way to play this cow is when you have a big point lead but you do not want to pass yet. So play the cow and most of the benefits of this card will go to the next round. The clan Brokvar Hunters are okay. They will have 3 strength and remove 3 strength from a non-gold unit. But it's better to keep the number of cards close to the required minimum. Plus cards like Clan Haymaid, Shald and Commander's Horde benefit 1 row and you do not have too many ranged units. The backbone of your deck are the light longships. They have 7 strength and are immune to rain, which is especially a problem since you are facing a lot of monster decks in the beginning. So what changes did I make to the starter deck? I added 2 Clan Haymaid Skulls. This is a great unit with 4 strength and it adds 2 strength to all non-gold units in its rows. I also added 1 Clan Crate Warrior, so together with Krach's Enclave Leader's ability, you can get 4 of them, which allows you for some very nice synergy with Warcry and the Clan Tour Siege X-Men, which has only 2 strength but gains 2 when a unit on your side is weakened, and since the Clan Crate Warriors lose 2 strength when spawned, the X-Men can build up quite fast. I also added 1 Clan Tor Daroch Shieldsmith, since it adds 2 base strength to an unit on your side of the battlefield. The base strength is important since it works together with the Clan Tour Siege Skirmishers, who are your prime candidate for being respawned by the Priestess of Frey. I also added 1 light longship. When it comes to spells, I removed the Torrential Rain, since you have a lot of siege row units. Optionally, you can get the Impenetrable Fog, since you only have 1 ranged unit that is not immune to fog. The problem is that at least right now most beginners choose the monster deck, which has many cards that benefit from fog. But once you stop facing beginners, the Impenetrable Fog is a good choice. I also added a Thunderbolt potion since you have a few units with multiple instances in your deck. Swallow Potion is a good card, but it doesn't have much synergy with this deck, so it's up to you if you want to have it in your deck. So how good is this deck? Well, I haven't lost with this deck to a level 10 or lower player in a few days. But above level 10 this deck starts to struggle and I lose more games against players above level 10 than I win. So far the highest player I won with this deck against was a level 21 player. But remember, this is a deck that you can build at level 1 and it's very good against other basic decks. When redrawing cards, I try to get the Commander's Horn and a single Warcry. 2 Warcries are too much. When facing a monster deck with their many frosts and rains, I try to make sure I get the first light. The benefit of the Skellige faction is that your non-gold units get 1 base strength added after each round, so you have the biggest advantage at round 3. The 2 clan equate warriors that spawn from your leader's ability are not affected by this increase, so I like to spawn them in round 1. But if you have the clan Tour Siege X-Men, spawn him first, then use your leader's ability because that will give your X-Men plus 4 strength. It's normal to expect your opponent to kill the X-Men before he can gain even more strength, but sometimes your X-Men will gain a lot of strength. He will not only gain strength from your crate warriors, but also when your opponent weakens your units or cast weather cards. Whenever you have the X-Men or not, after you spawn all your crate warriors, you should cast Warcry, which will double the strength of any of your weakened units. After you cast Warcry, you can even add the Thunderbolt potion, which is a great card if you have a lot of instances of 1 unit. If your opponent weakened your crate warriors even more, you can cast Thunderbolt potion first, but remember that Warcry only works if your units are below their base strength, which is the case if their strength is displayed with a red number. One card you have to worry about is Scorch, which kills all units which have the highest strength on the battlefield, and since your crate warriors will probably have all the same high strength after playing Warcry, they might get all killed by Scorch. You can prepare against Scorch by playing a clan Tordaroch Shieldsmith, which adds 2 base strength to 1 crate warrior. Since this is a base strength increase, the crate warrior will still be displayed as a weakened unit and Warcry will still affect this unit. Now, 1 crate warrior will have more strength than the other, so if Scorch is played, you will only lose 1 unit. What you should also worry about is Frost. Even if you have First Light, which clears all weather effects, your crate warriors will only go back to their base strength. Playing your gold card in the first round makes also sense, since gold cards will not gain a strength increase from the Skellige faction ability after each round. Remember that you are the weakest in round 1, so should your opponent get a big lead, for example by scorching your crate warriors, then just give up round 1 and try to win round 2 and 3. It's smart to play the clan Tour Siege skirmishers in round 1 or 2. It makes little sense to play them in round 3, since their special ability is that their base strength increases by 4 when they're resurrected. Because of this ability, your opponent will probably not target them, but since at the end of the round they will be moved to the graveyard, you can resurrect the skirmishers with your Priestess of Frey. I like to play the skirmishers in round 2 and resurrect them in round 3, and even give up round 2 to have a strong round 3. But if I have 1 skirmishers and 2 Priestess of Frey, I will probably play the skirmishers with 6 strength in round 1, then resurrect them with my first Priestess in round 2, which will give him 11 base strength, and resurrect him again in round 3, where he will have 15 base strength. Targeting the clan Tordaroch Shieldsmith's ability on the skirmishers is also smart, because when they're resurrected next round, the increase in base strength will stay. Round 2 and round 3 is where you make the big siege row attack with this deck. First you cast your light longships, which are quite well protected since they're immune to rain. Again you can spawn 1 shieldsmith to protect your multiple longships from Scorch. Then you can play your Priestess of Frey, and as the last unit spawn the clan Heimei Shalt, which will increase the strength by 2 of all your units in that row. At the end you can finish off with Commander's Horn, which will give you a siege row with a lot of strength. With all the clan Heimei Shalts and Commander's Horn you can easily get over 100 strength on your side of the battlefield. Of course, some cards will hurt your siege row build-up. Torrential Rain will hurt you, but because your longships are immune to rain, the damage is limited. Lucky Raid is also strong since it weakens all cards in one row by 3 strength. A very good card against such a Heimei Shalt and Commander's Horn combo is the Demeritium Bomb, since it will set all the units to their base strength, but it's a silver card and not many beginning players will have it. Normally, you should play your strength increasing cards on the row that has the most strength, but sometimes you can use these cards also to save units that the opponent has played on your side of the deck. For example, if the enemy plays Heilmar and Lord of Undvik spawns on your side of the battlefield, you can increase his strength. This is very important because if Lord of Undvik is removed from the battlefield, Heilmar will gain 10 strength. Another example is Iris, which will give all opposing non-gold units 3 strength, but increasing her strength will most likely save her from being killed, and your opponent ended up wasting 1 card and giving you 4 strength. Ideally, you want to play your Scourge card when you can kill multiple high strength enemy cards, but because your deck has so many strength increasing cards, you end up having the highest strength card on the battlefield. So playing Scourge to kill 1 unit is a safer choice instead of ending the game without being able to use Scourge. Well, that's it for my beginner Skellige deck. In my opinion, this is the best deck you can build at level 1. Remember that you can improve this deck later once you get better cards, but for a level 1 player, this deck and strategy should allow you to win almost all games against players below level 10. Thank you for watching, please subscribe and check out my other Witcher 3 videos. Chance of an instant kill, which you can see here. Another way to use the free adrenaline points is for Rend, the alternative attack that you can perform while holding the strong attack button.